Hey everybody, Brett Boyd here. This video is going to be kind of like a fun one. This is about angels in disguise. And I don't know about you, but I love testimonies of people that have had wild encounters with God or with angels. People that have visions or they have actual experiences with the angelic realm. And I've got lots of friends that have had actual encounters with angels in dreams and in real life. And growing up, I didn't know people like that. But as I have gotten older and I've met more people that are in love with Jesus, the more people I end up meeting who have radical experiences. And so this video isn't about someone from the present that I know. This is about going back. So I'm going back to when I was a child. And my grandparents were really, really influential in my life growing up, in faith and just in life. And so this is a testimony of theirs. And neither of them are here to tell it, so I'm going to share it with you. Today at church, actually, the pastor was talking about Hebrews chapter 13, being careful to entertain strangers, because sometimes we're actually entertaining angels unaware. It's Hebrews chapter 13, and it says, "Let brotherly love continue, and be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." And it's very interesting because when you read different translations of that, another way that it could be said is, "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained hidden angels." Meaning that sometimes God hides an angel in disguise for you to encounter along your journey. So be mindful, be aware of that when you're encountering people that you think are strange or people that you think are just normal people, sometimes they could be angels without you knowing, hidden right in your midst. So I'm wearing this sweatshirt. It says Asbury Park on it. And what does it say? Where the city meets the sea. And this is where this encounter happened. Now, let me preface this by saying that my grandmother was a die-hard Roman Catholic, and my grandfather was a born-again Protestant Christian. And so they both believed in God, they both believed in Jesus, but they both had different denominations that they came from. So they had the commonality of Jesus, but the practice was just different. But they would make regular trips down to the Jersey Shore area. And as I recall the story from my mother, she said that they were leaving the beach, and it was really late at night, and they're on the boardwalk, and there's like no one around, and they're getting scared because there was a group of teenagers that seemed kind of like, rough and tumble, and they were following them, and it seemed like they were getting closer and closer and closer. So my grandparents were alone, and they're trying to get back to their car as fast as possible. So they're on the boardwalk, trying to really keep a quick pace going to their car, and all of a sudden they see a police car pull up onto the boardwalk. Now this is wild. If you've ever been down the shore, a lot of these boardwalks, you don't usually drive a vehicle on them. Maybe you have the beach car that'll maybe drive up or something, but this was a full-fledged police car. But they weren't thinking this is really unusual. They're thinking, I'm scared, there's a police car. So they went up to the police car, and they both said that when they saw the policeman's face, it was glowing, right? They could see it was like, it looked like porcelain is the word my grandmother used. So before they could get a word out, the police officer said, "Do not be afraid." And they I guess, had told him that they're scared. There's these teenagers. And he says, not to worry, I'll follow you to your car. Just go on ahead. So they both noticed this officer's face was like unusual and very waxy. And they start walking off the boardwalk toward their car. And they look back to wave at the police officer. And there was no police car on the boardwalk. Pretty amazing. And I think of that story from time to time because God's amazing. And He knows what we need just when we need it. He knew my grandparents were scared. He didn't want them scared. He also wanted to, I believe, give them an encounter that they could pass down through the generations of God's faithfulness and God's goodness. And who knew that all these years later, both my grandparents now being passed on, now I'm living in Asbury Park. I'm living in the same city where my grandparents had a radical encounter with an angel of God. I'm living in the same city and going to the same boardwalk that they had that experience at. I'm praying for people on the boardwalk where an angel of God met my grandparents. So it's just amazing when we think about all the various ways that God meets us where we're at. And sometimes, myself included, we get so overwhelmed by the goings-on of life that we often don't stop to remember the many things that God has done and still is planning to do to interact with us. Because God loves us so much. He doesn't want us afraid. He doesn't want us feeling alone, because we're really not alone. And He loves to make His presence known. And the Bible has a lot to say about angels. Angels are here to assist us. The Bible makes references to angels like being in awe of the fact that we, being made in the image and likeness of God, could go through all the different trials and tribulations that we do and still worship God and still press through and still desire more and more of God. So I consider myself blessed. I don't know about you, but I would challenge you to think back on the times that God has been faithful to you. I mean, He's always faithful, but think back to those times that God has shown up in some special way in your life. Don't forget those times. Because especially when days get dark and it seems like there's not much left to hold on to, we need to draw on those. He gives us those moments for a purpose, to feed on them, to draw on them. Psalm 37 talks about feeding on the faithfulness of God. And you may not have had a radical encounter with an angel like that, but it doesn't have to be on that scale to be important, and it doesn't have to be an angel encounter for you to be able to draw on it to give you hope. But if you go back and you think about all the different times in your life where something supernatural occurred to give you hope, to give you that extra fuel to keep on going, you'll find plenty. I'm sure you will. But I thought you'd appreciate this story, and it just makes me smile inside because God is real, angels are real, and they're here to help us on our journey. After all, we're just all walking each other home, and we're here for each other. We're here to become the love of God on the earth. So let's not depend on angels to come and give us hope. Let's also be hope to one another. But God bless you. I hope you've enjoyed this little testimony, and keep your eyes open, because sometimes you think it's a stranger and it might actually be a hidden angel. So keep your eyes open. God's always looking to interact with you. He loves you. You're so loved. And you never know. You might very well one day be giving the same kind of testimony for your own life. God bless you guys. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon.